Number 1.
My Christian Grey Stalker Wannabe Returns by Karasvede24. This will be in the perspective of a female. I posted this story a few weeks ago on a different subreddit. A few people suggested that I posted the story here on its entirety. I had pretty much forgotten about doing that, until last night, when I saw John for the first time in over a year. So here's the story, including last night's events. I will spare you guys the lovey-dovey stuff. Just understand that John and I met through a friend of a friend, and I was head over heels for this guy for a few weeks. He was so perfect. I had a daydream or two about wedding bells and babies. John was a software designer and very well off financially. He was also a perfect gentleman. Every time we met, he would open doors for me, wait for me to sit first, offered his coat, all that Hallmark romance movie stuff. Valentine's Day was our third date. We had already been flirting for a while, and one night, it got pretty sexual. He started talking about what he was going to do to me on Valentine's Day. Not what he wanted to do, but was going to do. I stopped him and told him I wasn't ready for that yet, and explained it was really rude of him to just assume that kind of thing. Especially that we've only had 2 very short dates prior to this. He apologized and promised he understood. No sex on Valentine's Day, and he said he was okay with that.
Valentine's Day.
He picks me up. As we're sitting in the car, he tells me to close my eyes. I hear him get out of the car, get into the trunk, and fumble around. He comes back and tells me to open them. He was holding 18 long stem roses and a 2-foot Chewbacca plush. I squealed. I am a huge Star Wars nerd. He told me to open Chewie's satchel. Inside was a box from Kay's Jewelers. It was a lightsaber pendant. I thanked him, thinking it was a $30 necklace or something. Kay's didn't even register with me until much later. He took me to a fancy steakhouse, the kind with no prices on the menu. He ordered wine, we ate, and had a pretty nice meal. I was ready to go, but he wanted me to stay for a second glass of wine. He called the waiter over and ordered a bottle, not a glass. I gave him a funny look. He just smiled and poured me and him a glass. After I finished my glass, I was fuzzy-headed and done. I know my limits. Have another, he said, and poured. I politely declined, but he insisted, saying he already paid for the bottle. Don't let a $75 bottle go to waste. I politely declined again. He kept nagging. By now, it caught the waiter's attention, and he came over, asked if everything was okay. John said it was fine, and kind of shooed him away. The waiter looked at me, and kind of gave me a concerned look, and said,
We can send the bottle home with you guys if you like. We have bags to make it legal to transport. I'll get you one.
Took off before John could speak, and promptly came back. As John was starting to protest, the waiter had already sealed the bag, smiled at me, and wished us a good evening. Looking back, the waiter knew exactly what John was doing and came to my rescue, but in the state I was in at the moment, I just shrugged it off. We drive around a bit, and John pulls into a fancy pants hotel, the kind with valet drivers. I asked him what we were doing here, and John said he had a surprise for me. I instantly sober up and started secretly texting my friend from under my purse. As I'm doing this, I told John I wasn't going into the hotel room with him, that he'd promise, and I wanted to go home. He argued a bit. I tried to get out of the car, and he pulled my door shut. He apologized, said it wasn't a sex surprise, but told me I was right. The hotel room was a bit too far, and he could understand where the idea came from, and promptly drove me home. I felt pretty bad the rest of the night, wondering what the actual surprise was, how much trouble he went through, how I could make it up to him for spoiling the evening. The next date comes, but we decide to stay in, watch some movies. One thing led to another, he ended up staying the night. I woke up randomly in the night to him standing over my side of the bed, just staring at me. I freaked out and sit up and asked him what the fuck he was doing. "Oh God, sorry, I sleepwalk. I should have told you. I'm sorry." I'm pretty shaken up now and can't sleep, so I just lay there, on edge, awake. I've got some pretty bad vibes coming from him now, and just want him to leave. The next morning, I have to get to work. I pretty much have to shove him out of my house because he doesn't seem to want to leave. He kept randomly talking about a room in my house that is empty, how it would make a great bedroom, how a roommate would help me financially. As I push him out, he was suggesting he move in. I told him it's way too early to think about that. He makes a "nah, it'll happen" type of comments and leaves. I go to work, and John blows up my phone all day. "I miss you. How was your day? What are you wearing? Why won't you reply? Are you at work? I miss you so much." 38 texts similar to that. I can't be on my phone at work. He knows that. So I am annoyed. I clock out and leave, and outside in the parking lot, standing there waiting, is John. "I just missed you and wanted a kiss. One kiss." I tell him not to do this. This is my job and a secure facility. Then he hands me a bag with gifts, including the receipt for the necklace that he got me on Valentine's Day, which totaled to $750 because he opted for additional insurance. I freak and tell him I can't accept it, or the necklace. It's too much. He refuses. We argued. I leave. He follows me home. "We can't go to sleep angry. Let's work it out." I tell him I need my space, and he needs to go home so I can think. He agrees. The next morning, there are a dozen roses on my doorstep. I go off to work, get off work, and I have 40-something texts from him, ranging from "I'm sorry," "I miss you," to angry messages telling me I'm ungrateful, and I'm just like his ex-wife. I go home and break up with him via text. Wasn't classy, but at this point I didn't care. He called me, screamed at me at how I can't break up with him over a text, and that I have to do it in person. 10 minutes later, he's outside, refusing to leave until I came out. My roommate was standing inside the door as protection. John was sobbing, like snot down your face crying, handed me a bunch of gifts, roses, video games, Star Wars stuff, Doctor Who stuff. It was insane, really. I refuse. He refuses to leave unless I accept him. So I do, and convince him to take the necklace back, just to make me feel a little less trashy. He leaves. I see him drive by my house a few times. Once, I know I saw him at my work. I tried to ignore it, but informed my job and family and friends of what was going on. Months go by, and I just start seeing a new guy. New guy comes over, and we're hanging out on my porch, drinking and laughing. John messages me. "So you'll drink with a Neanderthal, but not me? Whore." I don't tell new guy. Just ignore it. Keep having a fun time. He messages me again. "You gonna fuck him tonight? He's just using you." I was freaking out now. I didn't see a car anywhere outside, but I make new guy come inside and told him what was going on. We called the cops, and I blocked John. More time flies by. Me and new guy are living together now. And last night, I saw John at the game store. I instantly turned to leave, but I know he saw me, because shortly after, I got a message through Facebook from John. "I miss you. When you realize you're being stupid and choose a poor white trash idiot over me, I will take you back. It's been hard watching you dig your hole deeper and deeper, but I'll be there to wipe your tears away, my dear." I blocked John on Facebook and called the police again. Informed my boyfriend. We're planning to move very soon. "John, please, let's stop meeting." Note: John and I only dated for about 2 months.
Number 2.
Been seeing this creature for the last 4 years, and it seems to follow me. By creepypasta. The author of this story provided some pictures of the creature. Even though it's hard to see the creature because of the quality of the pictures, they're going to be playing on screen throughout the story. This is going to be pretty long, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to include as much information as I can. As far as I know, the creature has never tried to harm me, but it has often made me feel unsafe and threatened. As the years have passed, I began paying less mind to it and just putting the feeling in the back of my mind. In January of 2012, I bought a horse and began boarding it in a very old barn. It was a small, tight-knit, friendly barn community not far from my home. It's been around since the 60s, surrounded by woods. There were 3 barns, the main arena entirely surrounded by thick woods, and there were small trails in the woods behind the property. Fast forward to June 2012. I had 2 horses there now. I was there every single day without fail. From 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I fed the horses and cared for them. I rode one every night as well, mainly in the arena, but sometimes in the barnyard. There were no field or arena lights, just the moon and the stars. One evening, around 5 p.m., I was sitting on a horse, letting her stand when she started snorting and backing up. I looked up and saw this white/gray creature crawling out of the woods towards us. It had a very small round head. Its eyes were just pits. It had a very small mouth. Not much detail there. Its arms were very long and thin. Its fingers were also like that. Its ribcage was very pronounced and defined, and its legs were very long and lanky. Its movements were very jerky, not smooth and fluid. It slowly jerked out to us when my horse turned and bolted out of the arena. She's a dead bloke, calm, well-mannered horse who never spooked out like this. Stubborn old mare, but not spooky. She would not go back into the arena that night. I watched her around the barnyard, staying near the main barn, put her up, and ran out to peek into the arena to find nothing except some footprints where I saw the thing. Throughout the summer, I saw it peeking, almost dancing, around the gate that led into the woods where the trails were. One night, Roughly a month later, at about 9 p.m., I was riding that horse again in a front pasture. The moon was full and bright, and I looked to my left to see the creature running at full spread by my side on the other side of the fence. I slowed my horse to a stop, and it took off around the corner and behind the side of the barn into the woods. I continued seeing it, mainly in the woods, but it was always around. In the summer of 2013, the barn was shut down when the owner died. We moved the horses to a friend's place for the time being, and I didn't see it there. Late summer/fall of 2013, I found a new barn. The woods were directly behind the barn and the arena. This place had lights and was much newer. About a month later, when I was getting ready to leave, I heard something in the woods. I looked down the barn aisle into the woods and saw the creature running down the road into the woods. I saw it less frequently for a while, until later in the fall of 2014. I began seeing it in the back pastures woods. It darted in and out of the tree line. I saw a second one sitting in the neighbor's yard. It would sit in the same spot every day and watch me ride. I started taking pictures, which are very poor and crappy, and sent them to a friend who claimed that he and some others had seen it. I kept seeing it occasionally, but from a much greater distance than at the first barn. I went with this barn owner to another farm to get some stuff, when I saw a very, very large version of the creature run out of the woods, right behind a tree I was 10 feet from, while I was alone by the trailer. Last November, I house sat for the barn owners. I went around 2 a.m. to fill the water troughs and enjoy the full moon and cool night. I was sitting in the back pasture when 3 of the creatures began coming from the woods. One came up to the tree near the trough where I was. The other 2 were walking along the tree line. The horses were silently munching on their hay, pretty far from where the creatures were. I messaged the guy from earlier and told him what was going on. Since the incident, I haven't seen them. Last summer, I did see one outside my house staring into the windows. A few weeks ago, one was outside my bedroom windows tapping and making a strange faint shrieking sound. This was a lot to type out, but I hope someone reads this and helps me figure this out some more. I am very open and willing to discuss more paranormal things that have happened with this, my friend's experience with this, and anything else that could or could not be connected to this thing. So what do you guys think? Comment down below what your theory of what this creature is.
Number 3.
The Hunt for the Red Rooms by CrazyPens30. The author of this story has a blog where he showcases his process on finding the red rooms on the dark web. I will be posting the link to the blog in the description. The legend continues. I've done several posts about the so-called red rooms that may or may not exist on the dark web, and it's been a very interesting process. I'm leaning toward not, by the way. For the newcomers, here are the previous entries. In the process, I've become more and more convinced that it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to host something like a red room on the dark web, Tor in particular. Not only is live streaming very difficult due to latency problems, but you would also have the problem of something like a live murder leaving behind evidence for law enforcement. Nonetheless, in my process, I've continued looking for sites that are labeled as red rooms, or sell themselves on the premises of being a red room. I've come across several of those while hunting, and most of them seem to be scams. Red room number 125-899-03. Most recently, I found yet another site with a similar premises, located at As you can see from the screenshot, it's rather basic looking and gives very few details. You have to contact them to get any other information. Once again, out of curiosity, I contacted the site owner, or whomever, via the email address that was listed and sent a PG encrypted message asking how to sign up. He sent back a PG encrypted message with the details on what I had to do and how much money I had to pay, etc. Now, here is the creepy part. The person who responded actually knew my real name. That was enough to freak me out, at least a little bit. I didn't ask, but I was also concerned if he had any of my other personal information. Later, he found out I was blogging about him. He spewed out a list of other personal info, like my wife's name, the city I live in, and several places that I frequent, but you could honestly find those just by Googling me. It reminded me, at least slightly, of some of the deep web stories like the previously mentioned horrifying deep web stories, Why I Quit Hacking, or 3 Disturbing Deep Web Stories by Mr. Nightmare. And yes, I know those are just stories, but it was a possibility of someone finding out my real identity that was reminiscent of some of the stories. His response to my first question, like most of the others, was that I had to pay 2 Bitcoin, aka $1,344 with 80 cents, to gain access, and then to actually be the master of the show, I had to win an auction, similar to most of the other supposed Red Room sites. Once you paid, supposedly, you would be given a username and password to simply access the site. You could only access the landing page without it. So my question was, where did the guy get my name from? Well, without asking directly, I had several theories. When I had used my PGP key on the message I sent initially, it's possible that my name was encoded into it somehow. I actually find that less disturbing than some of the alternatives. Beyond that, I combed through my system with various anti-malware tools and came up with a few troubling findings. One of them was a type of Trojan, whose name I forget at the moment, that is specifically designed to steal login credentials and personal information. I was able to remove it, but the question still remained. Was that what gave away my name? I still don't know for certain, and I will feel more comfortable if I did. So what have I learned from this? I need to be more careful about who I correspond with on the dark web, and when I do so, it is imperative that I have all the privacy and security protocols in place, and don't do anything idiotic. Insert "I told you so" here. In the meantime, I'm still finding the process enjoyable, and believe it or not, I have learned a few things from my mistakes. I hope you can too. The actual blog post has the link to the supposed Red Room. I'm pretty sure that you can't access the link without Tor. Even then, I advise you to be careful if you choose to click on the link.
Hey guys, Psychotic Maniac here. I know this is a weird mashup of stories, deep web, cryptid creatures, and stalkers. The reason for this is because I didn't get enough stories of the 3 to have a standalone video for each. If you guys know any stories of the topics I mentioned, then comment them or comment the name and or source in the comments. Also, in the near future, I want to do a subscriber story special. Therefore, send me your stories. I have a few already, but I would like to have more so the video could be longer. If you didn't know, I have social media: Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. I will be posting special announcements, updates, and other things on there. So if you don't want to miss out on this, go follow me. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you guys noticed a change in the sound quality of my recordings for this video. If you guys did, it's because I bought a new microphone. For those tech people who want to know the specific microphone I bought, it's the Yeti, made by Blue Microphones. That creepy reading recommended this microphone to me. He has been narrating longer than I have. Thus, I took his advice on it. The difference in the sound quality is amazing. Up to my previous video, I have been recording with the microphone on my laptop, which in all honesty, it sucks. I had to clean the audio extensively to get a decent sounding recording. Now that I have the equipment necessary to create better content for you guys, I will do so. If you guys like this video, make sure to obliterate the living shit out of that like button. If you want to share this video so other people can get scared, then I recommend you to do so. If you didn't know, a lack of vitamin psychotic maniac is unhealthy. So make sure to subscribe, so you get your 2 doses of that vitamin every week. Again, thanks for watching. Be safe, and remember, everyone is a tad bit insane.